Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how to do the Italian bind-off for a 1x1 ribbing. I will show you a couple of tips beforehand. I will then show you step by step how you do it, like each individual little thingamajig you have to do. Then I will show you how to combine the steps to make it a little bit more easier, because it's easier to remember 2 steps as opposed to 4 steps. And then I will show you how I remember the steps, what my little trick is. My first tip to you is when you do your last row of ribbing the 1x1, go for a smaller needle. So I knitted this in 5mm needles and I did the last row with 4mm. If you don't have any smaller needles by hand, or they are in the other room and you're too lazy to go and get it, I understand, then simply knit your last row a lot tighter than you did the rest of your ribbing. My second tip isn't for everyone, but it is, for instance, for people who knit like me. I knit a combined method, which means how I wrap my yarn with my knits and my pearls differ. So, a step I have to do before I can even start on the Italian bind-off is I have to reposition some of my stitches on another needle. I tend to just use a circular needle for this. It just makes it more convenient, then I don't have to place everything on one needle and then place it all back. What I mean with reposition your stitches is you have to make sure that all your stitches, all the loops, like for instance my knits are always placed incorrect for the Italian bind-off. You see the right leg is on the back of the needle and the left leg is in front of the needle, and it has to be the other way round. All your stitches, knits and pearls, the right leg, so make sure you don't twist any of your stitches, the right leg has to be in front of the needle. So my pearl stitches are already positioned correctly. So I just go through every stitch, which is quite tedious if you're doing a lot of stitches, but I just reposition them as they should be. So just to clarify even more, at the moment this knit stitch, the right leg is at the back of the needle. I need it front of the needle, as so. I'm just going to quickly do all of them. So I reposition them. Now the reason why I always do circular needles for this step is so that I now don't have to put them back on a different needle. So I can then now just pull, oh, my stitches are really tight at the moment. So I can just pull the stitches through so everything is back on a left needle, so that my tail is again at the beginning. Otherwise it would have been at the back, because if I would have just turned the needle, it would have been my tail would have been on the wrong side of the work. So circular needle is just an easier step. Now for your tail, the Italian bind-off takes a bit of yarn, so I recommend that you cut off about 3 to 4 times the length of the ribbing that you are going to bind off. Then take a tapestry needle. I had one. Found it. I'm going to refer to things as knitwise. This would mean that I take my tapestry needle and I go from the front towards the back through a stitch. Purlwise meaning I come from the back to through the stitch towards the front of the work. That's what purlwise knitwise means. So you go in through the first stitch, which is a knit stitch. You go in knitwise, you pull the yarn through, and you also then slip off that stitch. You can go a bit tight. And now you're going to the second stitch that is currently on your left needle and go in between the stitches, between stitch 1 and 2, and go purlwise into the second stitch and pull through. You're now going to go into the first stitch, which is a purl stitch. You're going to go in purlwise, pull it through, and slip it off. Pull it nice and tightly. And now you're going to go from behind, between stitches 1 and 2, so not in the stitches, in between stitches 1 and 2. Gonna go in E, going through, and now knitwise go into the second stitch. And those are the steps you repeat. Quite fiddly, I do admit. So here's how you can combine them. So your first stitch is a knit stitch. You go in knitwise, slip it off, and before you pull your yarn through, you turn so that your needle is pointing to the left, and from in front of the first stitch you go purlwise into the second stitch. So just to show, just in front, so you just surpass the first stitch, and now you go purlwise into the second stitch. Now you pull through. Second movement. That one was what I just showed was one movement. This is the second movement. Sorry if you're hearing tippy taps. One of my bunnies, several of my bunnies, are doing zoomies around me. So sorry. Second movement. You go purlwise into the first stitch, slip it off. You turn it now towards the back of the work, but again pointing left. Go in between the two stitches that are on your needle. Go in between them. And then, this is the trickiest part, from this position, go into that second stitch purlwise. So from back to front, front to back. That, I will admit, is the trickiest one. And then you pull through. Those are the two movements, and now I will show you how I remember it. Now, how to remember all this. Easier than you think. The two movements that I just showed, the first half of the movement is always slipping something off. The second half of the movement is always doing something with the second stitch that is still left on the needle. But how do you remember what to do, how to do it, knitwise or purlwise? Easy enough, easier than you think. The first half, you do it in the way as the stitch is. I'll clarify that in a second. The second half is always doing the opposite of the stitch you're working. What do I mean with this? What I mean, my first half of the movement, these are knit stitches, so I slip off the stitch knitwise. It's a knit stitch, I slip it off knitwise, I do the turning in front of the work, and now the second stitch, which is also a knit stitch, I do this one purlwise. So in front of the work, I go in purlwise. Then I always do that way. And then you pull tightly. Second movement. we have purl stitches here. So you slip off the purl stitch purlwise. The second stitch that you're working is again also a purl stitch, but now you're going to do it knitwise. So you're going to go from the back, in between the two stitches, go in knitwise. And pull. I'll show you that again. So again, the first movement is always done with all the knit stitches. The second movement is done with the purl stitches. This is also how you can keep score if you're doing it correctly. Did you forget to slip something or not? Slip your knit stitch knitwise. Then in front of the work, do the second knit stitch purlwise. And pull. Way. Second movement. You slip the purl stitch purlwise. And then from the back, you go in your purl stitch knitwise. So in between 1 and 2, twist a little bit and go in knitwise. And pull. And you basically just keep doing that to the end. And this gives this lovely Italian ribbing. I hope this makes it a little bit more easy to remember, easy to do. Let me know in the comments. Toodles!